The game of TFT is no stranger to innovation. We've seen this time and time again across every single set, where every comp, just new lines, new variations, new different ways to approach them, new itemizations, just so that we can optimize the comp in the best way that we possibly can. And in today's video, we're going to witness one of those evolutions from a VOD played by none other than Madoka. Now, some of you might be going, Madoka? I've never heard that name before. Who the heck is Madoka? Why should I give a shit about who this guy is? Madoka, for those of you who don't remember, was one of the world's contenders from last year in set 8, who was representing Japan hand in hand with Shimapen. Shimapen is the guy who you may or may not remember, we did cover him on this channel, who is the guy who quit his job to compete in TFT, which was absolutely insane. But nonetheless, again, in today's video, we are going to go over and witness one of those evolutions across the Zaun vertical, again played by none other than the world's representative himself, Madoka. Let's get on to today's video. Okay, so here we go. We are inside of Madoka's game. I'm actually going to call him Madoka instead of Shikame because in the Japanese server, there's actually Shikame and Shimapen, which they both sound very similar, but they were both world's representatives last year who represented for Japan. And crazy enough, I believe Shikame was not the one who made it to the final lobby. I think Shimapen was, but nonetheless, Shikame, or rather Madoka, who we're gonna call him Madoka again in this video, still did very well. I think he got eliminated the second to last day, if I remember correctly. Unfortunate, but hey, still very top tier player. Also, just so you know, the Japanese text on the top, I can't get rid of that. That is, well, it's from his stream. He just explained the box bootcamp because he actually is participating in it. So maybe keep your eye on that if you're following that closely. But anyways, Madoka, as we can tell, is inside of the Scuttle Puddle realm. And Scuttle Puddle realm, it's really interesting. It's so funny because this is my second or third time trying to take this take, or trying to do the commentary rather. And like, the Scuttle Puddle rounds, the PvE rounds, they last so fucking long. And I'm like, I have been talking for a while now, and we're still fighting the Scuttle crowds. Like, what the fuck's going on? And like, the video's on 2x speed and nothing's different, you know? It just throws me off, but I just thought it was funny. Anyways, 2-1, we are given a sword, belt, and bow start. Some of you might already be autopiloting onto the Zeri line because of the Zeke Slam that is available to us, but let's talk a little bit about it, okay? So here, immediately, we're given Portable Forge, Suppressing Fire, and the boss. Now, we are running the Ornn Legend, which is really, really interesting because Ornn, he's become a bit more popular because people have realized that some of the Portable Forge items are actually really nice. You have stuff like Sniper's Focus, stuff like Hull Breaker, or Hull Crusher rather, Hull Crusher, which is available to you as well, stuff like Zaun's, which is always strong, and a lot of the Ornn items they're actually kind of decent. You kind of like running them, so definitely not bad to take Portable Forge as your legend if you are worried about low rolling your 2-1 augments. As we can tell here, on the middle and right side, he definitely low rolled because Madoka is faced with both Suppressing Fire and the boss. Now, these augments are fucking terrible. Just to prove it to you right here in the stats, like real quick. The boss is averaging roughly a 5.07. This is quite honestly terrible to take. And then on top of that, we have Suppressing Fire, which is averaging a 5.12. There was a little bit of discussion going on inside of my Twitch chat the other day about the boss and how it's actually a playable augment. You play it around set carry with JG Hodge Titans, supposedly. I don't know the line very well. I might look a little more into it, but if you happen to be a big The Boss player, please let me know how you approach the line, and also your elo, because if you're playing this and like silver, I don't give a fuck about your opinion. No flame. Anyways, we're gonna seriously, no flame. It's just you know the deal. Anyways, middle right side, we are gonna be rerolling these. We're giving You Have My Sword and Gifts from the Fallen. Personally speaking, I love Gifts from the Fallen. I love the idea that everything else dies and it's your hyper carry with a bunch of loaded up stats getting to obliterate the board. I love Gifts from the Fallen, and it's a very flexible augment. You can run it in almost any comp. But surprisingly enough, Madoka looks at these options, ends up taking Portable Forge, and is given Eternal Winter, Sniper's Focus, Hull Crusher. Now, again, Sniper's Focus, one of the best Ornn items in the game. It's almost always an auto take. Hull Crusher, I did mention it briefly before. Hull Crusher is actually alright. The reason why is because it enables Rek'Sai 3, which is really, really surprising because Rek'Sai 3, it kind of fell off. A lot of people were playing it during the PvE, and then bruisers kept getting nerfed, getting nerfed. A lot of people have stopped playing it, but now Rek'Sai 3 has sort of come back into the meta because of Hull Crusher. And Hull Crusher, as you can see here, this is Rek'Sai with Hull Crusher stats, specifically with 3-star, but as we can see, the average is a 3.65, really, really strong top 4 rate, and okay win rate. I would assume the win rate is just decent, and the reason why 14% for your, just so you have a reference, it's not crazy high, but it's definitely not low. Low is like sub 10%. It's surprisingly all right. But the deltas seem to be really, really good here with Kaisa and Sejuani on the board, meaning this is, to my understanding, probably means that 6 Void is probably the line that you would want to play. If we run it 6 Void here, average is 3.9, but there's not a lot of games run with this setup, and if we try looking into maybe 6 Bruiser instead, or 6 Bruiser, average is 3.43. So definitely Rek'Sai 3 available to you, but you probably want to play it within the Bruiser vertical instead of the Void, but nonetheless, probably still a very, very strong option. Obviously, we don't have a Void opener here. We do have the Cho'Gath Malzahar 1s, but I mean, that's no reason to take Hull Crusher here, especially if you don't have a really good slam here that we could use for Rek'Sai later. So Sniper's Focus is going to be the auto take pick for us here. Now, again, like I said before, we do have a Sword Belt Bow available, and some of you guys might slam Zeke's in this spot because you might go me Zeri, no pivot, no scout. If you're that guy, fuck you. But surprisingly enough, he does not slam the Zeke's Herald because Madoka is a smart player. He knows that it's very possible that there are a bunch of units out there that might like to take this Sniper's Focus instead if they happen to present themselves early on. Units like Azir, units like Aphelios, units like, well, Zeri, I already talked about her. Units even like Lux can surprisingly use Sniper's Focus. Not very great on Lux though, I will say. But again, Aphelios, Azir, we're keeping our options open. We do have the Renekton and the Cho'Gath available to us, so it is possible that we do end up pivoting into some level of a Shurima line and then playing around the Azir with Sniper's Focus. Again, like I said before, it's a very, very strong item and it's very, very flexible. We're going to actually fast forward a little bit now because there's not much to talk about, and then we're just going to go into the carousel where we are going to be, I believe we are the 3rd pick? Yep, we are the 3rd pick. So, son of a bitch, we're not even at carousel yet. Again, there's not much to talk about in this early game here, but we're gonna, again, this is on 4x speed. Not much to talk about. He lost the 2nd round, so he's not trying to keep his streak going. And here we do win, mixed streaking. A little awkward. It is what it is. Anyways, going into the carousel here. Now we, again, bow, belt, sword is our options, and we're given a crit glove here. Now, this is an interesting thing to talk about here, okay? So, we have the Viego 2, fine. Would you slam IE in this spot? Would you slam IE in this spot? That is what I want to ask you guys. Because if you were to slam an item here, and actually in North America, right, one of the more common things that we talk about is, hey, if you have 4 components sitting around, you should probably slam something, right? Would you slam IE in this spot? You can slam Guardbreaker too. Guardbreaker might be an option here. What would be your choice? What would you slam? Madoka does something interesting here. Levels of 5. Doesn't slam shit. He does not slam the IE in the spot, which is really, really interesting. Now, why is that interesting? I personally would slam IE in the spot every single time because I'm trying to play for my HP preservation. Plus, we just won the last round. We're trying to win, right? Ideally, we're trying to streak, maybe a 3 streak into Krugs. It'd be really nice. Why doesn't he slam IE in the spot? IE is very flexible. Aphelios loves IE. IE Sniper Focus Ginsu Aphelios. That sounds beautiful. IE Sniper's Focus Ginsu Zeri. Sounds beautiful. Why don't we slam IE here? This is my understanding. This is my take. This is how I view it. He doesn't slam IE here because let's run it back, right? Think about it again. The Aphelios build. Assuming we ran Aphelios, it would be IE Sniper's Focus +1, and we have an open bow. If we were to slam IE, that open bow becomes Ginsu's. And now, what do you know? We have no healing on our carry. I think Madoka probably values having healing, some level of healing on his carry, more than anything else. So that's actually why that if we were to slam the IE, then suddenly our itemization is looking a little difficult because unless we get a healing augment, it's very unlikely of us to be able to play around this IE and, you know, be able to compete against the lobby later down the line where suddenly our carry, if it gets hit with some level of AoE, it's just going to slowly die out, right? Not very great. So here, Scuttle Crab is over. We're at 60 gold. We have a lot of money to be playing around with. That's just part of the realm. And we are leveling to 6 here because it's very, very cheap for us to level to 6. Sure, we do lose 1 gold, but we lose 1 gold to play up a fawn. You should do that every single time. Now, wow! Wow, just son of a bitch running back. So let's look at our components real quick, right? We have the bow slam on the Jin, and we have a crit glove, crit glove, belt, sword, cloak. This mad lad slammed QSS. He slammed QSS in that spot. That is interesting. He actually thinks that QSS is better in this spot compared to anything else he could have slammed. Where he could have slammed something like a GS guard breaker. He had a bunch of different options. He could have slammed the Zeeks as well, right? He has double Zeeks potentially available to him as well if he were to play into the Zeri line, which it's looking a lot more likely now because, again, double Zeeks. But could have played Warmogs for tempo, could have played Deathblade, could have done a bunch of different things, and QSS is surprisingly his choice. I don't really have an answer for that. I wish I did. I don't. Maybe he thinks that a lot of people are going to play J4 and like, I don't know, like a bunch of CC or whatever. I don't know. Or maybe he just really values not being CC'd. So, it is what it is. Really, really cool slam. Anyways, medium forge, defensive dash, cybernetic leech. To be honest, if you think that a lot of your components are not slammable and you don't really have any slams that you're very happy with, cybernetic is always a very interesting option to take because cybernetic anything just allows you to spread around components, garner a lot of value out of them, and you're okay with it because you're like, hey, I wasn't going to slam shit anyways, might as well just spread my components here, right? So cybernetic could be okay in this spot, but again, we do have double Zeeks available to us. We are definitely leaning more towards the Zeri line, so we're probably going to reroll both of these options, and we're given not today unburdened. Definitely not going to take either of these. But unfortunately, we're thinking about I think Madoka is about to refresh medium forge as well, but I think he realizes not today and unburdened are actually pretty bad. And if he low rolls on the left side, GG's, right? So unfortunately, it's very likely we're gonna have to take medium forge here because the options on the right side were not very good. We popped the tome that was given to us, gifted by Mortdog, and we're given Ionia, Targon, Juggernaut, and Zaun. Now, I want to talk about this because this is interesting. From this spot, we do not have to take Zaun, right? We talked about, you can tell from the thumbnail, like we're talking about Zaun. Like Zaun's eventually played in this video. But we don't have to take Zaun in this spot. And quite honestly, Ionia emblem sounds really appealing in this spot. It sounds very appealing in this spot. Why is that the case? It's because Ionia emblem just imagine the Ionia line. Right? We talked about this in the last video. A lot of Ionia emblem holders love items like Ginsu's and attack speed because the best ones are units like Aphelios, units like Kaisa, right? So imagine you run an Ionia emblem Aphelios with Sniper's Focus. Fuck! That is a lot of damage, right? So, like, Ionia emblem from the spot's actually really, really good. And quite honestly, if it was me, I would slam GS, Warmogs, take the Ionia emblem, and my Aphelios is now running a Sniper's Focus Ionia emblem GS, and I have the QSS ready for my Yasuo in the future. That is the line that I would run from this spot, 20 out of 20. So the fact that Madoka sees this and he says, fuck it, me Zaun, weird decision in my opinion. Very weird decision in my opinion here. Opens up the component anvil, or not, sorry, item anvil, given Edge of Night, Static Shift, ZZ Rod, Sunfire, JG. This kind of shit. Quite honestly, out of all these, I think the only acceptable option is really just Sunfire Cape. You could take ZZ Rod if you wanted a little extra frontline, but clearly we have enough of that, and JG is available to us as well. But because we're taking this on emblem, we know we're going to play around Zeri no matter what now. So, in the Zeri line, there's not a lot of AP holders, right? I can't even think of one that you could potentially flex into. So, it's probably going to be Sunfire or ZZ Rot. We don't have any anti-heal on our board yet. Don't know if we're going to be able to get any, so it's probably going to be Sunfire Cape from this spot. And as we can see, Madoka ends up taking it. Now, level 6, 55 gold. From this spot, ends up slamming the double Zeeks and slams the Sunfire as well. And the Zaun Crest, we're sitting on 3 Zaun, a little awkward. We don't end up rolling. Why don't we end up rolling in this spot? Normally, on 3-2, you would roll a lot. Roll down, try to find your upgrades, and keep up with the tempo of the lobby. Madoka skips all that. Does not level. Why is that the case? Well, this is actually something that pertains specifically to Scuttle Puddle, where Scuttle Puddle, the intervals are a bit different. Scuttle Puddle, everybody has so much money at 3-2 at level 6 that instead of trying to roll at level 6 to stabilize for the majority of stage 3, instead, most people will actually just sack 2 more and then on 3-5 level 7, send it down. And that is what is going on most of the time. So on Scuttle Puddle, by the way, if you're playing on it, don't send your money down on 3-2. If you really need to, you can, but more often than not, you should have enough economy to level to 7 on 3-5 really comfortably and be able to then roll down to try to hit whatever you're looking for, right? That's what we're seeing here. And so, as you can see, everybody else in the lobby right now, still level 6, but as you saw with the opponents that we just faced into, all of them had 50 gold, if not more. Like, everybody is chilling with the economy. We're gonna, everybody, send it down 3-5 level 7. Good fucking luck. It's a lottery system. So, here we go as we are going into the next round on 3-5. We are level 7 immediately. By the way, 55 gold. A lot of money to send it down on, right? 55 gold. We're looking for the Zaries, looking for whoever, right? And we are sending it down. And I'm playing this at regular speed, by the way, so we can see this in real time. But hits the Jarvan. Keeps looking, right? We're rolling. Hits the Zeri, hits the Warwick 2. Really, really good stuff. Switches out the Jhin for the Zeri. Immediately starts pivoting onto the items. The Zaun crest onto the fucking J4, by the way. Really interesting decision. Putting on the chem mod, the exploding chem mod onto the J4 and shimmering onto the Zeri. Sniper's focus, triple item, double Zeeks. Looking really, really solid. Of course, we do have the Viego still on our board with the double Zeeks. It's looking a little awkward, but besides that, not a bad transition here. Not bad at all. Obviously, we're not complete with it. We had a lot of stuff we had to be pivoting out of. And actually, funny enough, because Madoka is in Japan playing on the NA servers, he's playing with lag. 160 ping lag. Some of you motherfuckers can't even pivot as fast as this guy can on a 160 ping. 8 p.m. check, by the way. Like, you work on yourself. All right, anyways. I mean, okay, obviously, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not one to talk. My pivots are actually pretty slow. I'm really good at think fast, but that's the only thing I can do. My pivoting between comps, I'm shit. Anyways, moving on. You're not alone, okay? You're not alone. All right, you're not alone. Moving on. So, anyways, now we're sitting on a 4 Zaun board, shimmering on our Zeri, and we have the exploding Chemtech mod on our J4. This is some technology. For those of you who don't know, the exploding chem mod is one of the worst mods. It is inarguably one of the worst mods you can grab. And surprisingly enough, and funny enough, I didn't mention this earlier, but he actually, Madoka-san, checked to see what exactly was his 2 chem mod, right? His 2 Zaun chem mod, what was it? And he noticed that it was exploding, and he said, fuck it, I'm gonna send it. What does this mean? J4 recently has been found to be a very interesting Zaun crest holder, who with the exploding chem mod can actually do a lot of interesting damage. As we can see here, Madoka actually prioritizes the slams onto the J4 here. I mean, obviously it's a Val slam, you're going to slam it onto J4 every time, but this is so that J4 can slam into the backline and explode like a fucking gusher. Like, it's insane. This is a 1-star J4, by the way, did 1,000 damage, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a 1-star J4, and once it's 2-starred, that's when the heat is cooking. And that's when we get to play 6 Zaun. We're already within 6 Zaun, by the way. We're already overcharged with the fucking exploding chem tank. So, we're already online, basically. This is some really, really crazy stuff. So, anyways, moving on. Going into the 4-2 Augments, because we should probably be talking about those. And we are given Job Well Done All Natural Zaun Crest. Zaun Crest. We already have 6 Zaun. So, here's the thing. We already have 6 Zaun. We're already online. We don't actually have to take Zaun Crest in this spot. But as you may or may not know, if you already reached the peak of a vertical, or rather you've already reached the maximum capacity you're looking for within a certain trait, if you will. In this case, we're 6 Zaun. We don't need any more Zaun. Crests mean fawn. Crest equals fawn. So you should think in this scenario, if you see that Zaun crest and you're already at 6 Zaun, that is a fawn. You're basically saying my gold augment is now a prismatic. Because all of you stupid fucks took a gold augment, and here I am taking a prismatic augment, because this Zaun crest could have basically said tactician's tools, a prismatic augment, and I'd still be way happier taking it. So here in this spot, Madoka takes, he goes, eh? The most Japanese eh I've ever heard. But they take Zaun crest. If, by the way, for those of you who don't know, in Japanese it's like, what? You know, it means the same thing. Anyways, takes Zaun crest here. Notice, by the way, immediately text down, and he's sitting on 3 gunner, and now he's going to sit on 4 gunner, 6 Zaun. We are going to be chilling in this game. He rolls down a little bit, trying to find the last, I believe, unit that he's looking for to tech into here, and then ends up finds the Urgot, and now we are chilling. 6 Zaun, 4 Gunner at level 7. We have a very, very strong board, and even though our economy is slightly in shambles, considering that it is Scuttle Puddle, some players are already thinking about going level 8 within the next standard interval, that being at 4-5, but nonetheless, it doesn't matter. We are having a good time. And again, keep your eyes peeled for this J4. It's doing some really interesting damage. This is, again, one of the most weird, like, wonkiest techs that have come out within the first week of the set. Like, quite honestly, a lot of Zaun chem holders were being tested around with, a lot of the Yasuos, a lot of the Kaisas, a lot of the Bell Vests, but seeing J4 making use of the exploding chem mod is so, like, look at that. Oh my god, the Aphelios just, like, basically almost exploded. Obviously, we don't win this fight, unfortunate, but again, this is a tier 1-star J4 doing 2.6k damage because it just explodes and just basically does infinite damage here, right? Anyways, going to the carousel here, we are probably just looking for any items that we can ideally slam for Zeke's, but unfortunately, if that's not the case, we'll take a really, really expensive component instead and start working towards our Urgot items. Hodge is really good on Urgot, really, really fine as well, but Kriklev is fine. It's actually really interesting because we're sort of approaching the later end game of the state, or end part of the game, rather, end stage of the game. Sorry. Kriklev is actually really interesting to take here because you might think, oh, Kriklev, like, it doesn't go into a lot of good items. Hodge, IE, sure, but then what else? Like, what if we get a cloak? Like, what do we do? You know? And I agree with you. Like, it can feel a little bad sometimes where Kriklev is not one of the most flexible components. It's actually one of the least. But because we're approaching the end game, if we were given a chain vest, Shroud is totally fine to slam here as well. It's actually quite acceptable because, again, we're sort of approaching the end game state. Our carries are already itemized. We can start thinking about what to do in that last case scenario, if you will, right? So here we are, level 7, still sitting around. We don't have to push level. We have enough HP that we don't have to worry about trying to match the pace of the lobby because we're definitely a bit behind. But again, we're behind because we have a lot of 1-starred units. We don't have any 2 costs yet. And actually, funny enough, this is a 1 loss, right? Definitely behind the pace of the lobby, but very only slightly. We're still 43 HP, doing a lot better than this Sojin dude or this It's Jaw NA Kick W dude, right? We're chilling in our spot. Again, going into Scuttle Crabs, we are going to be given a lot of money to play around with, and at level 8, 5-1, we're going to have a lot of money to work with. Now, obviously, as you can see here, we did hit the J4 too, and our spot's just crazy. We're basically allowed to hit every single upgrade we're looking for. 50 gold to roll down here. Hitting the Urgot 2. Rolling down, trying to look for some more. Hitting the Zeri 2, right? Flexing in some units, trying to see whatever else that we can play around. We are given some slightly awkward slams here. It's probably going to be the TG here, but it's a little awkward because we do have the Sunfire available to us. But again, we don't have any AP item holders that we could really use, so having a JG Guardbreaker slam would be a little awkward, right? So unfortunately, that's not the case. But now we are sort of chilling here with J42, Urgot 2, a random Sejuani who we could still tech out of if we wanted something else. Probably we're looking at the team planner, like trying to figure out who else we could throw into our board here, right? But just to give you some ideas in terms of, you know, units that could go in here, it could be something like J4. It could be something like as in like another J4, right? Which is what we see him ending up doing. Another J4, maybe a Lysandra, but we don't have invokers in, so it doesn't really make sense, right? There aren't a lot of options available to us, so this is a little awkward of a board, but like, don't be afraid to run 2 units of the same variety on your board if that's just your strongest board, right? Here, Madoka notices that, like, hey, like, there aren't a lot of good units that I can play on my board. Plus, on top of that, even if I were to roll down, it's very efficient. Or rather, inefficient. It's inefficient because we don't have anybody else that we could be playing around for this last slot on our board. And then, because it is Scuttle Puddle and our HP is good enough, why not just try to go 9 instead? We already have J42, we already have Urgot 2, we already have Zeri 2. So, fuck it. Let's just go 9. Like, fuck it. Like, who cares, right? There's, like, what else are we rolling for on this level? Nothing. There's nothing to roll for. So, we're just going to go 9 instead. And that is what's so nice about this, because I know some of you guys out there would definitely not try to go 9 in this spot, or even try to play the double J4. You would be rolling here trying to find another unit to throw onto your board. Sometimes that just isn't going to be the option, and instead going 9 is our best case scenario. Now, we're given the RFC here, which is really awkward as well. I wish I could tell you why he chose RFC. He just chose RFC. I think his idea here is that he wants this first J4 to cast in automatically, and then make sure that the second J4 casts no matter what, and RFC, surprisingly enough, actually lets him cast because he's able to attack from far away range, so that he's able to ramp up the mana before dying and getting that AoE CC off. Now, I will say this. This chem mod, this J4 exploding tank shit is RNG as fuck. Hilarious. But it is so RNG because if your J4, like in the last fight, goes into the opposite direction, jumps the wrong way, it is turbo fucked. Because that dude is not doing any damage. Sure, getting some CC off, but when he dies, where he dies is very important here, right? Like in this fight, for example, if this J4 doesn't, he jumps in the middle here, but if he jumps to the left side here, it would have been a lot better. Still is able to tag the Zeri here, the opponent's Zeri, and still do a decent amount of damage, but unfortunately it isn't enough and the Urgot cleans us. Now, we do secure top 4 here. We've been chilling this whole game, but we're going to go 9 this next turn because again, Scuttle Puddle, we're allowed to just give an infinite amounts of econs, so we're able to go 9. And then from 9, what is the game plan? The game plan from 9, you might be thinking, is like, oh, it's just teching whatever legendaries, right? Good job. You watched the channel. Right, good. We are looking for the second J42, which is actually very, very interesting that he finds it. And you might be going like, why J42? Like, why a second one? And the reason is this. Out of all of the frontline units that we could potentially tech onto our board, there aren't... First off, J42 is what we hit. But also, there isn't much else that we could play in this spot, right? We technically have 2 open slots, right? We have double J4 on our board, so one of them could get off our board. But on top of that, it's like we have 2 open slots. Like, sure, we would maybe play a Cassante and like maybe Shen for Bastion, right? Like, I guess it's possible. But like, if we hit J42, why not just play 2 of them? 2 J42s, just play 2 J42s, right? Still get a lot of that AoE damage off. We don't have any traits active for him, which is very unfortunate, but that's our strongest board. Don't be afraid to play the duplicates. It's totally okay. And funny enough, Mothercom knows that it's very likely that he will win out this game. Why is he confident that he's going to win out the game? That Urgot player, by the way, took us out multiple times. Multiple times we could never beat that board. But even with this janky board, we know that we're still able to win, and that's because we know that the other guy, the last guy in the lobby, Liquid SV, was able to kill that last Urgot no matter what. And now we're in the final stage. We are chilling with our HP lead that helped us secure the top 3. Liquid helping us out secure our top 2, and then we end up winning out the game. Really interesting approach to the Zaun line, and I hope you guys have learned something. Take care, and happy climbing.